So DC the Don has built a name for himself in the underground. He has reached millions of streams. He has collabed with people like Jace and DDG, and he also was on the XXL freshman class. So why hasn't he blown up? Today I want to talk about the reasons why DC the Don hasn't reached mainstream level or quote unquote blew up. And just a disclaimer, this video isn't meant for hate towards DC the Don. I don't want any hate sent his way. This is just purely for music conversation. So starting off from the beginning, DC the Don is from Milwaukee, and during late 8th grade, I think 9th grade year for DC the Don, he moves to California to live with his dad because DC the Don said that he was getting in trouble, so his mom sent him to live with his dad. So most of DC the Don fans know this. It's like they fun fact. DC the Don started off playing basketball. He was on channels like Baller Vision and Sports Vision. He played at Chino Hills with the Ball brothers, Lonzo, LaMelo, and LiAngelo. And he has a song with Lonzo. The first song he ever made was this song called Everything 1K. And when he made that song, people around his high school was telling him to drop the song, so he dropped the song. It did have a little buzz to it. DC the Don's early music wasn't that bad. I knew about DC the Don in like 2018 when I was in 8th grade. His earlier songs was actually hard. Songs like Walk Through, GMFU, 3 AM Freestyle. These songs during 8th grade was fire. At that time in 2018, 2019, DC the Don was getting millions of views on his songs. Every time he dropped, it would do pretty good. He was even in DDG's and Pootie's videos at that time, because during that time DC the Don was homeless, so he moved in with Pootie, and this is when I seen more of him. He was only going up. In like early 2020, DC the Don was posting songs every Friday, known as DC Friday. These songs were supposed to be on an album, but that album never dropped. And I don't know the exact reason why the album was scrapped, but I think it was because of his label. He signed a bad label deal and he couldn't really do what he wanted to do. This is another reason why he was doing DC Friday. And these songs were actually good. These songs were good. It was showing that he was evolving with his sound. Like Welcome to the Show, that was my favorite. No Melody was blowing up, and he also dropped a song called Red Light with DDG and Almighty J that now has over 4 million views. And after this, he dropped an album called Come As You Are, and this album did really good. Worst Day being the biggest song off the album. Even I'm Dante reacted to the song. The song was pretty good. So DC the Don's doing good, and last year DC the Don was on a XXL freshman cypher. And even though the XXL freshman cypher isn't what it used to be, it's still a good way that artists can get their names out. But I'm not gonna lie to you, after Come As You Are, I stopped really checking out DC the Don's music. It wasn't anything particular that made me stop checking him out, I guess. But I have heard a couple songs from him lately. Till Cheyenne 2 with Jace, that song's good. And he just dropped an album a couple weeks ago called Sacred 2. So after all of this, after getting millions of views since 2019, after having a pretty decent album, after collabing with a couple good artists, after being on XXL freshman cypher, why hasn't DC the Don blown up? Why hasn't he reached mainstream or even just a similar buzz like some of his peers in the last couple of years? And this is a topic that I really want to talk about because I still follow DC the Don on Instagram, and sometimes I would see his posts and I'd be like, he dropped another album, but I never really hear anything about him like in the underground. Like I feel like he has a cult fan base, but outside of that, you don't really hear anything from him. And I've just been wondering why. Like, why hasn't he blown up? Because even people like people who don't even drop like Ken still has 4 million Spotify listeners. And I think DC the Don is in a place that SoFago's in, they both have a cult fan base, but outside of that cult fan base, nobody's checking their music out or even just like keeping up with them. And I don't think and a couple reasons why I think that DC Don isn't like why nobody's talking about DC Don is because of his label. I feel like his label isn't doing anything to promote him. But you look at a nigga like Rich Amiri, who is getting millions and millions of listeners on Spotify, millions of listeners on his songs and stuff like that. It's not even because Rich Amiri is making some really good music. It's because of his label. His label is just pumping so much promotion in him, and this is why he's getting more and more views. DC Don, if he had a good label or a good management, he could be doing numbers. Another reason why I think DC Don hasn't blown up is because of his sound. He has a very unique. He has a sound that I don't think people are checking out anymore. People aren't checking out the emo sound no more. Like, he's making music that only a certain amount of people are still checking out right now, because people. But even then, though, I can't really see, because like, I think another reason why people aren't really checking out DC Don is because of his sound. I think he has a couple different flows that he goes with his songs, but I feel like nobody's really caring about that certain sound right now. But that's really it. That's just some of the reasons why I think DC Don hasn't reached mainstream level or has just gotten views like his peers, because I used to be really into DC Don a couple years ago, and now that when I check him out, I'm just like, dang, I wonder what happened. But his views aren't doing terrible or bad. Like I said, DC Don has a cult fan base. This was just something I wanted to talk about because I just found it an interesting topic, and that's it. I make all kinds of videos, and if you like one, you know what to do. And I haven't uploaded in 2 months, and I'm sorry, but I've been just working a lot. I've just been working so much, but I want to, get back to posting a lot. I miss posting YouTube videos, but that's it. I'm out. Peace.